All right. There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Life Barbecue Podcast, coming to you live from the Uncle Steve Shake Studios in Center Bondstead, New Hampshire. It's the pit. It's the podcast where we talk everything barbecue and a lot of other topics that you normally talk around the pit. Oh, thank you all for tuning in. You know what it means. It's Monday, 8 o'clock, and you can't start the barbecue week off without starting on Monday. So let's get into it. Tonight's episode brought to you by Uncle Steve Shake. Oh, folks, what can I say? Uncle Steve is a true gentleman. The love, passion, energy he puts into his seasonings is unbelievable, to the point we're at 18 now. 18 amazing flavors, including the sauce with no name. But the original, the Gator Shake, the spicier, the dessert shake, the competition line, magic ribs, it goes on and on. And he's wearing all the hats. You know, he's mixing the shake, he's bottling, labeling, packing, shipping. He's doing it all. If you have a question, give him a call. He'll be the one answering the phone. Send him an email. He'll be the one responding to that. He actually, if he has a question about your order, he will reach out to you because he wants your order right, what you're looking for, the whole 9 yards. Check him out at UncleSteveShake.com and also follow along on Facebook at Uncle Steve Shake Nation. Uncle Steve Shake, shake some on everything. Also brought to you by Joe's Meat Market, the diamond of Royce City, Texas. Gabriel and his crew do an amazing job day in, day out. Protein selection is unbelievable. You need a special thickness cut, Gabriel's got you. If you're looking for a protein that Gabriel might not have, he'll work with you to get it in. Fresh produce brought in daily. For all us competition and backyard guys, got us covered too. Lines of rubs, sauces, including his new house line of rubs, smoky wood products, splits, chips, chunks, pellets. Got everything we need for your next barbecue or competition. And while you're there, if you're feeling a little hungry, he's got you covered there too. Gabriel's mom is behind the counter whipping up some of the freshest, authentic Mexican cuisine out there. Grab a plate, grab a bowl, sit down, talk with the boys, and make a new lifelong friend over the passion of this little thing we call barbecue. If you're ever, like you said, in the Royce City area, stop by, tell them I said hello. And remember, Joe's Meat Market for the win. Also brought to you by the Champions Barbecue Alliance. Big Dog Sauce Company and Matt's Backyard Barbecue present the New England CBA Triple Crown, bringing Texas and New England together for the ultimate barbecue showdown, a 3-state high-stakes competition across Vermont, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. Do you have what it takes to dominate the Champions Barbecue Alliance's 4-meat competition, chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket, and claim the Triple Crown? How about showing your skills in some epic jackpots, including dessert, chef's choice, sausage, and steak? Calling all young pit masters the Kids Q jackpots, the next generation barbecue legends, a chance to show off their skills from the fiercest pit masters as they fire up the smokers, lay down the rubs, and showcase their best. 3 states, 3 epic showdowns, 1 champion. These sponsors are bringing the heat with prizes, including a guaranteed $10,000 payout for the Vermont competition and some unique trophies. Whether you're competing or coming to judge the feast, don't miss the barbecue lovers' paradise. kicking off the weekend of June 20th through the 22nd in Vermont at the Vermont State Fairgrounds. Let's go, guys. Sign-ups are open. We are signed up, ready to rock. All right, let's see. I know Bat was in the chat, followed by Daddy Dutch. Me. Colorado Randy, what's up, brother? Tom's Food Factory, hello, sir. Big Rome, what's up? Matt Pereira, what's going on? Joe's Meat Market, there he is, the man himself. Larry Vaughn, afternoon from South Jersey. How are you, sir? Thank you for tuning in. Judge Wep, what's happening? All right, guys, yes, Dutch. I'm looking at the text. I still love you. Absolutely, with all my heart, dear. Brother Stephen, all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, brother. Good seeing you. Folks, I have been looking forward to this episode for a while since we got everything rolling. The man really needs no introduction, but what can we say? Barbecue legend, live fire and grilling legend, barbecue Hall of Famer, New York Times best-selling author, top 100 cookbooks of all time. My personal opinion, the best cookbook of all time.
Wow. Nice.
So much, he's right up there that he only needs one name. He's up there like with Madonna and Sting and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, making his triumphant return, if I don't kill him first for choking, the one and only Meathead. Meathead, how are you, brother?
I'm like Madonna, only I have a little more facial hair than her.
Hey, it's all right.
I'm good, Johnny. Good to be with you. You got a nice crowd in the audience there. I can see that.
Oh, yeah. They all jump in every week without fail. I am truly blessed for what it is that we do every week. So thank you to all of them.
Do you get the joke about the rub with no name, or the horse with no name? The sauce with no name. The sauce with no name.
Yeah. Everybody was asking him. He goes, what is the sauce? What do you call in the sauce? A special this, a special that? He goes, no name. Haven't came up with a name yet. And that was it. He literally wound up naming it the sauce with no name.
But do you know about the song, The Horse with No Name?
America, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's got to be based on. It's got to be a pun on that. The horse with no name, the sauce with no name. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is fantastic too.
I haven't tried it. I'll have to get a hand to get.
Oh, we'll get you some for sure.
Oh, geez, that'd be great.
For sure, I'm sure he'll be happy to send some out to you. So you've been a busy boy. It all started way back with the original.
You've got my book, Meathead.
The Science of Great Barbecue and Grilling. This was literally the first barbecue book I ever purchased many years ago.
Oh, my.
And it was all because looking at the shelves, you know how a bookstore is laid out. I see that and go, what is that? What is Meathead? And then that was it. I literally broke the binder, everything. Then we had moved to the new house and we had some water damage, unfortunately. And my copy was ruined.
Oh, geez.
So the first time you joined us last year, you were lovely enough to send me a brand new copy, autographed, I might add. So to fill the void back, and
that
thank
book,
you.
I'm very proud of it. It's it's been out for 9 years now. It sold almost 300,000 copies now. Most
Yeah.
cookbooks are doing great if they do 10 or 20,000. 300,000 is Neverland. It's
Yeah.
never would have dreamed it. But it's a good book, and if there's somebody out there who really wants to get their head around the science of barbecue, what is smoke, what is fire, what is meat, what happens when heat hits meat, and the different kinds of cookers and how they work differently from each other. There's a good deal of fun stuff in there. The first half of the book is really a science book. The second half is recipes that apply to science. And that's the same thing with my new book, The Meathead Method, which comes out in just a little over 2 weeks, May 13th.
May 13th.
You have a copy.
I have a pre-copy that came in last week. Thank you so much. And sneak preview. And like I said, I feel bad that I haven't even gotten to the recipes yet.
I've
been so fascinating, just like the first book, the first section, it's very scientific and breaking down all types of aspects of it, and a lot of debunking, and a lot of work went into it. And there is an incredible section, and we're going to get into it, on the use, what is, and the use of koji, because I found that absolutely fascinating. But I do have a question.
I'll try to have an answer.
And I never asked it the first time you joined me, and I honestly can't remember ever hearing anybody ask, where did the name Meathead come from?
Oh goodness, it's a good story. I'm an old man, and coming up through high school, there was a television show, All in the Family.
All in the Family. Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker was a curmudgeonly old bigot, and he lived. His daughter was a hippie, and her boyfriend was Rob Reiner, who lived in the same house. And Archie and Rob clashed all the time over politics. And Archie called Rob Meathead. And my dad and I would watch it, and we differed politically, but he was not a bigot like Archie. And so he called me Meathead. And I got into the internet and these forums and the discussion stuff in the late 80s, early 90s. And you had to have a handle, you had to have an avatar, you had to have a moniker. So I naturally called myself Meathead. That's what Dad called me, and it stuck, and it was appropriate. And then in 2005 or so, I launched the website AmazingRibs.com, and I felt it was appropriate. And so now I sign my books and my articles and my work with Meathead. It's stuck. I mean, when I call my lawyer's office and she says, "Who's calling?" and I say, "It's Meathead," they all know who's calling. I get through. It's not like, and what are you calling about, Mr. So-and-so? So it's my brand. This is 2025. If you don't have a brand, you don't exist.
Yeah, true. Very true. Very true. One thing I definitely wanted to cover, because it popped up on my social media feed the other day. It's not in the book, unless I haven't actually got to it yet. But there was a post from AmazingRibs.com the other day about smoking your pickle juice. It turns to salt?
Well, it depends. It depends on how long you smoke it. You can dehydrate it so it turns to smoked salt. Pickle juice typically is just salt and water with some vinegar, and often it's got spices. Pickle juice is a really good brine. Brining is just soaking food in a salt solution.
Mhm.
So you can just, make a brine out of salt and water. Pickles are brined in salt, water, vinegar, and some herbs and spices, and that's just a brine. But you can smoke liquids. I mean, you can smoke water. I do it all the time. I'll take a tray throw ice cubes in it and throw it on my pellet smoker and set it for a low temperature and let it smoke for about 30 minutes. The ice melts, but the smoke is attracted to the cold surfaces, and it melts into the water. And then I take the water and freeze it. You can do the same thing
Yep.
with pickle juice, or you can use the pickle juice for a brine, or you can cook it down and you'll end up with smoked salt, with which will have some of the flavors of the brine. All kinds of crap. But it's one of the things I do in this book that I have fun with. The first book, Meathead, the Science of Great Barbecue and Grilling, I try to cover the standards. There's ribs and pulled pork and chicken and brisket, and a lot of other things. There's over 100 recipes, but they're kind of the standards, the classic barbecue canon, if you will.
Mhm.
This book, I've tried to take people to new places. For example, everybody out there who loves Chinese food, raise your hand. Yeah, okay, everybody's hand goes up. I couldn't ever cook great Chinese food indoors. I've got a great wok, a carbon steel wok, and I have a gas burner, but it just doesn't get as hot enough. If you've ever seen a Chinese cook, or even a Japanese cook, those burners are massive. They produce a ton of energy. And I just couldn't get there. And one day I'm out in the backyard and I'm getting ready to start up my Weber kettle, and I got a charcoal chimney. I think most of your people know what a charcoal chimney is. It's like a coffee can. You stick some paper underneath it and you put your charcoal in, and it lights the charcoal, and it confines the charcoal to a tube that's, maybe only 6 inches wide and maybe 7 or 8 inches thick. Now, that deep layer of charcoal compacts a tremendous amount of energy, and it's around dusk. And I'm noticing there's a blue flame coming out of this charcoal chimney. It looks like the back end of an F-35.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. And I run inside and I get my wok and I set it on top of the charcoal chimney and get out one of those infrared thermometers. It's over 1,000 degrees. It is like the back end of an F-35. Yeah. So I start cooking on this thing, and I'm making fantastic Chinese style stir fries on top of a charcoal chimney. It is massive amounts of energy. In fact, you don't even have to fill it, only about halfway. Now, there's a trick if you're going to do this. One of the problems is the wok sits perfectly on top of the chimney, and it'll smother the fire. The combustion gases will build up beneath the wok and on top of the charcoal, so it'll smother the fire. And you combat that by getting a drill out and poking a few holes just below where the wok sits, just below the top lip, so that the combustion gases can come out and oxygen can get in. I did mine. I took some tin snips and I just put some V-shaped snips in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it works fantastic. And if you love good Asian Chinese food, this is far better than cooking it on your stovetop. And so that's something we cover in detail in the book. Raise your hand if you love fried chicken. Huh? Everybody, see all the hands going up. You do it indoors on your stovetop, and the oil gets all over the stovetop, all over the counter, gets on the floor, sets off the smoke alarm, and stinks up the house for hours. Get a Dutch oven and put about 1.5 inches of oil in it. Take it out to your gas grill. 2 zones, hot side, not hot side. Put the Dutch oven on the hot side and get the temperature up to 375. 350 to 375 is your magic number for deep frying. And roll your chicken or your vegetables. You make yourself a dredge or whatever you want to coat your stuff with, and do it on a gas grill. Who cares if it spatters? Who cares if it's perfectly safe? You're not going to knock over a big old Dutch oven.
No.
And if you do, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to burn down a $500 grill. if you knock over a Dutch oven in your kitchen, you're going to burn down a $500,000 house.
No house.
Yeah. So, and it's fantastic. You cook the chicken on the direct heat side, and when it's beautiful and golden, you take it out and you set it on the indirect side where the burners are off, and just let it sit there and stay warm. Fried chicken, Chinese food, they're all grill foods.
Yep. And right at the beginning, the first section we have in the book is all about sensory.
Yeah.
Taste, smell, feel, all that. And as you go into it, and funny, we started talking with the Chinese food. Like I said, just like any of the previous book, there's little subsections in each chapter. And the one that got me great is the truth about MSG.
Oh, yeah.
The Chinese restaurant syndrome.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they are allergic to it or they get headaches from it, but it's a natural ingredient in tomatoes and a lot of food. It's in miso, and you encounter MSG every day without getting sick. There may, in fact, be some people who do have an allergic reaction to it. But there's been a lot of interesting research where they take people into a lab, and it's nothing to be afraid of. And in fact, it's very handy. If you sprinkle MSG on some of your foods, it can really amplify it. It can turn it up a notch. It's a nice ingredient to play with. And I explain how much to use and where to use it. And you should give it a try. It's very unlikely you're going to have a negative reaction to it.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm looking at the comments, and yes,
MSG equals make shit good.
Yeah, right. I'm looking at the comments, and I see Yes I Can Barbecue, and he says he's been using Meathead charcoal and their white sauce. That's not me. In fact, there's some conversation between them that's involved lawyers. We've been Meathead for many, many years, and he's decided inappropriately to use that name. So that's not my brand.
Yep, very good. Well, speaking of your brand, and we'll just hit that real quick. I heard a rumor of you are discontinuing your seasoning line.
Yeah, we brought it out. Look, our bread and butter, we essentially have two major revenue streams. We run AmazingRibs.com, and there's an event. There's a portion of it called the Pitmaster Club.
Yeah,
and the Pitmaster Club is fantastic. There's over 120 broadcast quality videos from guys like Tuffy Stone and Harry Sue and you name them, and these are really outstanding instructional videos. There's 6 free ebooks that I've written. There's just a lot of cool stuff available to the members of the Pitmaster Club. Costs $35 a year. We have an 80% renewal rate. People just don't leave. It's a great system, and that's our bread and butter. And we brought out some rubs and sauces. We're sold out of the sauce and the poultry rub. We have a little bit of the red meat rub and the pork rub left. I'm pretty sure they're available on Amazon, and that's it. I'm really proud of them. I think they're really good. I think they're as good as anything on the market, but they're a distraction. Managing it, quality control, selling them. We've just decided that it's not our business. Every barbecue joint in America sells their sauce, and it's just highly competitive. And we just decided, as good as they are, we're going to stick with dance with who brung us, and that's our Pitmaster Club and the website and the books. 2 books down.
Yep. Now, what inspired you after the original release of the original 10 years ago to get back into this wonderful journey you so enjoyed of writing and putting together the second book, The Meathead Method?
Well, I was a journalism major in college and did my master's in photography. And I've been cooking all my life. My dad taught me how to grill, and I used to hang out in the section of Gainesville, Florida that white boys didn't go to, and I learned an awful lot about open pit and grilling, and I uh, so it just fit, you know. I mean, cooking, photography, writing. So that's what led to the website. I opened the website in 2005, and I don't think there was another website devoted to barbecue and grilling. Now, half the people in your audience probably have a blog related to barbecue and grilling, and but we were among the first, if not the first, and it it just took off, and Google loves it, and we enjoy about 2 million visitors a month, which is by far the largest and most popular. There's 2,000 free pages. We have the Pitmaster Club, which is a paid portion, but there's over 2,000 free pages. We've got a guy named Nax Good who full time tests grills and smokers. That's all he does.
Yeah.
If you're shopping for a new smoker or a new grill, you need to go read his reviews. I mean, he gets his hands on these things and he kicks the tires, and he knows what he's doing. We have an electrical engineer who used to be the chief electrical engineer for Mobile Gas, and he's our thermometer tester. And if you're shopping for a thermometer, and boy, the new breed of wireless probes is really interesting. He's tested them and reviewed them, so go read his reviews if you're in the market for a thermometer. We review a lot of products and recipes and science and myth busting. It's a great website.
Absolutely, absolutely. But like you had said earlier, the first section is really a science book. Um, how how would you say that understanding chemistry and physics
Oh,
improve the quality of barbecue? I know in
I'm
one
so glad
section
you
here
asked.
you
That's
have
that's the
one
core
on
question.
altitude. Cooking in altitude, and
Yeah.
you break it down scientifically by literally subtract 2 degrees for every however elevation. But
Well, I think
the
it's natural that in 2025 people are interested in why. Not too long ago, you gave somebody a recipe and they just followed it. Step one, step two, step three. People now want to know, why do I do step one? What happens if I skip step two? What happens if I substitute brown sugar for white sugar? And they want to know more about. Every time you set foot into the kitchen or out on the deck, you're doing a chemistry, excuse me, chemistry and physics experiment. Physics in that heat is energy, and you're applying energy to protein, carbohydrate, fat, water, and they change and they alter when you apply energy to them. And so understanding what is energy and how does it behave and what happens when you apply energy to protein is the core of cooking. Cooking is all about temperature and temperature control and the chemistry. So physics and chemistry are, I mean, if you understand a little bit, and my stuff is not very complicated. I I I once taught at Cornell University in the classroom next to Carl Sagan. And
Oh,
if that
wow.
name means anything to you, Carl Sagan was an astrophysicist, but his great gift was he could teach advanced um, astrophysics and sciences in plain language that anybody could understand. And that's a message I've tried to learn. And so I think even though there's a great deal of science in my books, it should be understandable to everyone.
Mhm.
And I think, a lot of people say they do this, they slap their foreheads a lot because it makes sense. You understand. Um, basic concept. I'll give you an example. Rubs. Rubs are usually a mixture of all kinds of salt and spices and herbs, and they behave differently. Salt is the magic rock. Salt is just two atoms, sodium and chloride, NaCl. And when they get wet on the surface of the meat, they get electrically charged and they vibrate and they go down deep into the center of the meat. It's called ionization. And they behave down there by altering the protein structures. And they help the protein hold on to moisture. But sugar is 23 atoms. It's huge. It can't penetrate. It can get into the tiny microscopic cracks and pores and crevices on the surface, but it can't get more than a 1/16 of an inch, maybe at the most an 1/8 of an inch into the meat.
Mm-hmm.
So almost all of your rubs, you got a spice rub here. Here's your classic pork rub. It's got a whole bunch of goodies in it, but only the salt penetrates. Everything else sits on the surface. And you can prove this. If you don't believe me, and I'm sure people out there going, this guy's sucking nuts, go take a chicken breast and sprinkle your favorite rub all over it, grill it, smoke it, whatever you want, and then cut it in half and taste a core sample. Be careful when you cut it in half that the knife doesn't push the surface seasonings down to the center. You want that center clean. Maybe even wipe the surface of the cut meat with a paper towel or something. You won't taste any sugar, garlic, paprika. You won't see any paprika down in there. And paprika colors everything it touches. Only the salt. Only the salt. And that's a core concept in grilling, and that's sciencey. But once you understand that, you know that for a pork butt, which is a big 5 to 8 pound hunk of meat, you need more salt to get to the center than you do on a slab of ribs, which is maybe only an inch thick. On an inch thick slab of ribs, very little salt necessary, and it penetrates all the way through. But on a pork butt, you need more salt. So you apply the salt on a pork butt by the pound. If it weighs 5 to 8 pounds, you'll use a half a teaspoon of Morton's coarse kosher salt. That's our standard salt. I'm not paid to use that brand. It's just my standard, easy to sprinkle salt. Half a teaspoon per pound. So on a 5-pounder, you'll use half a teaspoon per pound. On a slab of ribs, same formula, about a half a teaspoon per pound. But now you're down to 2 or 3 pounds, and most of it is bone. But when it comes to all the other stuff, the paprika, the garlic powder, the onion powder, that's sitting on the surface. So you've got a lot of surface area on a slab of ribs. So you need a lot of herbs and spices. All the rub recipes on my website, none of them have salt, because I want you to apply the salt separately. The salt and the herbs and spices, they're like the gas pedal and the brake. They work together, but separately. So I want you to try to make your own rubs without salt. And you apply the salt well in advance. It takes a while for it to penetrate. Since the rest of the stuff doesn't penetrate, you can apply it at the end, anytime you want. Now, I got to confess, my commercial rubs and sauces do have salt in them because salt is cheap, and people expect all the rubs they buy to have salt in them. And if I left it out, it would be the most expensive rub on the market. And that's one of the reasons we're getting out of the business of making rubs and sauces, because I can't make them the way they should be made.
Yeah, and interesting comment here, Quentin Nelson. That's why I tell people for sous vide cooking to just add salt and the other seasonings put on later while searing.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I have an ebook on the subject of sous vide. I do a lot of sous vide. In fact, I just last month was one of 4 chefs on a cruise where we taught sous vide. And yeah, absolutely. And I do the rubs at the end of the sous vide process, after the water bath, and smoking at the end. because that stuff all washes off in the bag. There's a lot of purge in the bag. But salt I put on before it goes in the bag because it will penetrate.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject of after putting it on afterwards and while searing, we've all, I love the little sections on the myths and the myth busting, and we've talked till we're blue in the face on the beer can chicken myth, the soaking your wood myth, all that. How about this one from the new book of searing seals in the juices?
Yeah, this has been around since the 1800s. By the way, I do talk about sous vide in the new book. I call it sous vide Q, sous vide and barbecue. And it is in the new book. There's a whole section in there on sous vide. Searing is the process of changing the surface of the meat. It's called the Maillard reaction. It's a chemical reaction where the proteins and the amino acids change, and it alters their flavors and makes some really nice tasting flavors. But it doesn't seal off there's fibers in there, and it doesn't, tie them off in knots. In fact, if you sear a steak at a high temperature, you'll see a lot of liquid come to the surface. It just doesn't sear it off. In fact, high temperature searing actually promotes moisture loss. Fortunately, it's not too much, but it doesn't seal in the juices, and it's a myth that just doesn't want to go away. It's been around since the 1800s, I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face. I was listening to sports radio the other day, and the guys were talking about, and you got to sear it till it seals in the juices. It just won't go away.
Yep. Then another one I absolutely loved, and we have, especially in the barbecue side of everything, a fat cap can melt and get into the meat.
All right. Everybody knows fat is flavor. And if you buy a steak that's got a lot of marbling is those filigrees, lacy lines of fat within the muscle. That's good because that stuff will melt. It will mix with the juices in the meat, and it will add flavor. But meat is about 75% water. And the fat cap on your pork belly, or let's say your pork butt, you get a pork butt, there's a fat cap, or a pork loin. You buy pork loin, and there's a big fat cap on it. It'll melt, but it cannot penetrate the meat. It cannot get into that water-saturated piece of protein. It's not on this planet, at least. It can't get down in there. It will run off. It will base the surface. The oil will help maybe with some searing. But so people who take their briskets and leave that thick fat cap on there thinking it's going to enhance flavor, when you slice it and serve it, most of your guests are going to cut all that fat off. And when they do, there goes all your rub. I trim my briskets down to about a 1/4 inch of fat at the most. 1/4 inch of fat, it's going to melt down to about 1/8 inch. And people will eat a thin layer of fat on top of a slice of brisket. And especially if it's got the rub on it and it starts to turn brown and gets nice crusty. So 1/4 inch to start to cook, and it'll melt down. But it can't get into the meat. It just can't get in.
And that's the old oil and water.
Yeah. Oil and water don't mix.
That's it. And but okay, I can. And also another thing that I loved, you put a wonderful chart on.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh, wonderful chart in the book on your meat temperatures.
Yeah.
From medium, well done, all that, and on many. Go ahead.
That's a handy dandy guide to what's your optimum meat temperature. If you join our Pitmaster Club, you get this. Make sure you bring your eyeglasses. It's got 90 temperatures on it. 90 to everything from oil temperatures, when do different oils start to smoke, sugar, when do they boil, ball, and when do they caramelize. It's got all kinds of anything you would ever need, and it's on a magnet. It sells for $20 on Amazon. You get this free when you join our Pitmaster Club. But that one that you just showed is a kind of slimmed down version of this, and it's in the book, and it's handy dandy, and people copy it and hang it on the fridge.
Nice. All right, I can't wait any longer.
I know where you're going.
Waiting to go on this, so we're just gonna get right to it. And I had first heard of this. I don't know if it was with you, but it was definitely with Greg Rempe. It was either with you or I believe he's a chef out in Cleveland area.
Yes.
Who
Jeremy.
uses it. Jeremy Umansky. Was that?
Yes.
Umansky,
yeah, and also the YouTube guy Guga has played with. We're talking about Koji here.
Koji. Yes.
Koji, and I talked about it at length on Greg Rempe's show. Jerry Urmansky, who is also Greg and Urmansky are in Cleveland. So I had to go to Cleveland on business. And when I do, I always hook up with Greg. And he and I went to Urmansky's restaurant. And it's a marvelous restaurant. Just looking, I drawing a blank on the name of the there it is. It's Umansky, not Urmansky. He wrote a book called Koji Alchemy, which is really sciencey. And it's called The Larder, Delicatessen, and Bakery in Cleveland. And he works with Koji. Now, Koji is really interesting. Koji is a fungus. Now, don't freak out. I mean, mushrooms are funguses. Yeasts are funguses. You can't make wine or beer without fungus. So he plays with this fungus. It's called Koji, and it's very popular in Asia and particularly Japan. And it comes in all variety of. You can get spores, which are have their fruiting bodies. You can buy rice that has been inoculated with their spores. You can buy a paste, which is the rice mixed with some water, and and you can make your own Koji paste with rice and Koji spores. And you can also get liquid Koji, and I don't have a bottle in front of me, but it looks like a 12, 18 ounce bottle of golden liquid. It looks like piss, but it's made from filtered Koji. And and Koji is used to make sake, and it's also used to make miso. And miso is a marvelous ingredient. I have several recipes. One of the things I've tried to do in this book is bring new ingredients to the barbecue cooking process. We all have done brisket and ribs and chicken and pulled pork. We're all pretty good at it. We can always improve. But I wanted to do new things, so I brought Koji to the table. I brought other Asian ingredients and Spanish and Italian concepts to the recipes in this book. But if you soak meat in this liquid Koji, and that's what I do, I buy the clear golden liquid. It's too much trouble to make my own from scratch. And just a very short, 15, 30 minutes overnight. And it really adds a richness and umami, a flavor that you can't get anywhere else. And it alters the flavor, but it also enhances the flavor. You may not like it, but there's a very good chance you will. And it's fun to play with. And I explain how to buy it, how to build, how to make it, and how to use it in my new book, The Meathead Method. It's one of the many methods that I try to introduce the barbecue world to.
Yeah. Like I said, whenever I saw that, I'm like, oh, thank you, thank you, because I love the scientific end of it. Um, it's just always so fascinating.
That's just
And
another ingredient, you know. I mean,
yeah, and how to use it, and I'm trying to think of what else. There's so
I'm
much,
flipping through here myself to.
and I don't even think we're past 150 pages in, and it's all let's see, 412, so
Oh,
400
here's a
pages.
fun one. This is something I invented a few years ago. Your readers probably are familiar with a tool called grill grates. Now, everybody knows
Yes.
what a grill grate is. The wires that cover your grill. There's a product, grill grate, one word, trademark, and it's shaped differently than your standard grill grates. They look like railroad tracks, and they have a solid base with little holes in it, and they're really very good in building infrared heat. And they're really great if you want to create grill marks. And One of the things that I find really useful for them is I have pellets around, or sawdust or chips, and I throw them in between the rails and put fish on top, because fish is going to cook fast. And
Yeah.
if I want a light smoky flavor to my fish, I've got to get the smoke right underneath the meat, and it's got to put up a lot of smoke in a hurry. And this is a great technique if you have these grill grates, and a lot of your listeners probably do, or you can buy them. They're not real expensive. And you just throw wood pellets or sawdust or chips between the grill grates, and they get them smoking. And then you throw your fish down, and it adds a lovely flavor to it. Lovely. I just thought of another thing that's in the book. Tea smoking. You may have heard of Chinese tea smoking. Well, I talk about how to tea smoke, smoking with tea, tea leaves. You can also add a cinnamon stick and five spice, and you smoke with that in an aluminum pan. And you can do this indoors if you got a decent fan. Makes lovely flavor. It's a very classic Asian technique. So that's another one of the meathead methods that I've talked about in here. I talk about how to formulate rubs, make your own rubs without salt.
Hmm.
I'm flipping through the book because I can't
Yeah.
remember. Here.
Another thing you myth was like water pans, adding things to water pans, beer, wine,
Yeah.
celery, onions, and you put it very simple. Drink
Well,
the beer. You'll
let's
get more of a reaction out of it.
yeah. You're breaking up, and I'm not hearing you real well, but I know you're talking about water pans. Um, Probably a lot of people in your audience know about the Weber Smoky Mountain. In fact, many of us started on a Weber Smoky Mountain, and it's got a water pan that sits right above the charcoal. It doesn't add water to the meat, but one of the things that it does do is the meat comes out of the fridge, and you shouldn't let it sit around for an hour. Smoke attaches to cold surfaces. It's a process called thermophoresis. I learned about this from physicist Dr. Greg Blonder, who has been consulting with me over the years. I'm not all that smart. He's been teaching me a lot. But smoke adheres to cold surfaces. You get out of the shower and look at the mirror, it's all fogged up. That's thermophoresis. The moisture droplets adhere to the cold surface of the mirror. Well, same thing with food. You take your brisket out of the fridge, and if you throw it cold out of the fridge onto your smoker, what happens is the moisture coming out of that water pan condenses on the meat, just like on the mirror, and that cools the meat. And it does moisturize the surface, so it reduces the loss to evaporation. But it cools the meat, which slows the process of cooking down. And you want low and slow. When you cook hot and fast, the muscle fibers shrink and they squeeze out juices. So the water pan, I've seen people throw onions in there and herbs and spices. They're not going to flavor the meat. There's just not enough concentration. If you want onion flavor, sprinkle it on the meat right off your spice rack. It's not going to come out of the water pan. An apple juice, people put apples. You're talking about parts per million of apple flavor. It's a waste of money.
Now, I've seen people take onions and throw them in the firebox. So does the flames with an onion change anything?
It's going to burn the onion just like it burns wood. And that may put some mild flavor in the air. But what you're really getting from combustion is combustion gases. And I don't think you're going to get a great deal of onion flavor if you throw it in the firebox. You're going to get flavor from the wood in your firebox. There may be, but I would question if it's significant. I'm looking through. I've got a lot of good sauce recipes in this book, including a really good Thai sauce in here, a hot Thai sauce, which is great on fried chicken, and I talked about that earlier.
Okay, let's talk about that.
And one of the other things that I've got in here, since I felt like I couldn't go to press without a good rib recipe and out a good brisket recipe, and I had them in the last book, what I did is I occasionally go to barbecue competitions. I don't compete, but I hang out and watch the cooks, and they call it shigging. I steal ideas from them. Yep. And a lot of them will talk to me because they know I'm not going to cook. And so I've got recipes in the book. If you want to compete, here's how to cook ribs for competition. Here's how to cook brisket so I have recipes for competitors in the book. And you don't see that very often in print. That stuff is usually a secret. Oh, there's a great sous vide prime rib recipe in here. I do it every year for Christmas. It's amazing. A lot of good stuff in here. Gee willikers.
Yeah, like I said, it is fantastic. Like I said, I flipped through.
You're breaking up.
The rest. Yeah, the reception just dropped a little bit here. I've been, flipping through some of the recipes and, marinades, brines, vinaigrettes, injection section, a yogurt marinade.
Well, that's for the tandoori recipe. Here's a good one. I have some grapevines that I grow along my fence line. And I went to France years ago, and I watched the harvesting. And at lunchtime, they would take all the grapevine trimmings, because every year they have to prune the vines severely. And there's this big stack of pruned grapevines, and they light it on fire, and it's just this huge flame. And then they cook. I call them LDBs, little dead birds. They cook these quail and squab and other things over the embers, and they're delicious because the grapevines have a nice wood flavor. So I have some wild grapevines that I grow on my property, and I prune them every year, and I throw them in my Weber kettle. I fill the Weber kettle completely with dried grapevines, and I light them from the bottom, and you get like this 8-foot flame. Now, you don't want to cook over a flame that high and that hot, but it burns down to embers in about 10, 15 minutes. And those embers are really, really hot. And I cook flank steak on it. I don't want a thick steak. I want a thin steak. And I cook flank steak on it because flank steak's really good cooked hot and fast.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. I get this great mahogany crust on it, the flavor of the grapevines. And I show the process, pictures and the techniques in the new book here. I call it the afterburner. The afterburner is when you're cooking on the charcoal chimney. I call it the vigneron method after the French vignerons. Got some nice lamb recipes here, pork, chicken and turkey. Some of these pictures are nice, though. I'm really proud of my photography.
Yeah, you do it all. You have it all bases covered on it for sure. You know, with your knowledge of photography and your writing, and like you
Yeah, I
said,
actually did my master's in photography, and I really put a lot of effort into the photography in this book.
yeah, and like I had said earlier, before we were on to, I really think you really outdid yourself with the new book. What happened? Well, obviously, following along the whole process of the book, you did a lot more than the book. Are there
Um,
any plans on anything that wound up on the cutting room floor?
oh yeah, a lot of stuff landed on the cutting room floor. There may be enough for another book. I don't know. But a lot of it will end up on the website. I'm looking at your readers' questions.
Mhm.
Quentin Nelson is asking if the book will be in digital format. Pretty sure it'll be out in Kindle and Apple and Barnes and Noble's format. Don't know whether they'll be out. The hard copies are on shelves May 13th. I don't know if the digital copies will be out right away or if there'll be a delay. Last time they were a month or two late, but there
Mhm.
will be digital versions. Daddy Dutch Barbecue's asking fat side up or fat side down. That depends on the heat source. If you're doing, say, a Weber Smoky Mountain where the heat is down below, I'll put the fat down below because it acts like a heat buffer. If it's an offset and the heat is coming from the side, it's not a big difference because it's not penetrating the meat. And I'm trimming
Mhm.
most of that fat off. I don't know if you were here when I talked about that, but most of that fat is coming off. So it doesn't make a huge difference on an offset. Um, I'm scrolling through here looking to see if there's any other questions. Hey, Quentin Nelson, I'm a member of the Pitmaster Club. Via Fireboard. Fireboard, if
Yep.
you buy products, they have, I think, a 90-day free trial, which is cool. I am madly in love with my Fireboard. And I just bought the Pulse, which is their new wireless probe.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. I was.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I
I'm
was using the.
I thought the Pulse would Bluetooth connect to the what do you call the one with the probe, the Spark, and I can't
Yeah.
get to talk to each other yet. I got to call tech support.
Yeah, I was using the Fireboard for a while, and unfortunately, we got caught in a downpour, and the the screen literally filled with water and fried the entire system of it. So I need to get a new Fireboard
They're pretty good about
thermometer
tech
because I
support.
absolutely loved it. Yeah, yeah. And I would also be misused. We're talking, the Pitmasters Club. With the purchase of the book, you get a 60-day free membership
Oh yeah, yeah,
into the Pitmasters Club.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Hey,
yeah,
Pit Life Barbecue Podcast. That's you, isn't it?
that's me. Last time I
Uh,
checked, anyway.
you said this show is a minor league, is quoted by who? Not by me.
No, that was Daddy Dutch.
Oh,
He
okay.
was on. I believe you've been spoken with them, Len and Jeff from the Baseball and Barbecue
Oh yeah,
podcast.
I talked to them, but I didn't call this. I haven't called anybody minor league.
No, that Daddy Dutch Barbecue was on this past weekend's episode, and Len
Oh,
and Jeff are very good friends of mine for years.
yeah, they're a lot of
And
fun.
Daddy Dutch for a little shot at me at the end. He goes,
Oh,
if you wanna watch listen to the major leagues
oh,
of podcasts, you listen to the Baseball and Barbecue. Because you want to down for the minor leagues, go listen to the Pit Life Barbecue podcast. So he was just
no.
having a little fun, taking a shot at
Okay.
me over
Okay, well, I was
that
just looking
one.
through the comments.
Oh, but
Well,
but
we've been at it
Meathead,
for an hour. It doesn't
thank
feel
you.
like.
Yeah, no, it goes quick. But first off, thank you so much for taking the time and effort, energy, research, hours, months on top of everything to come up, give us the gift of the Meathead Method. This
I'm
is
just totally flattered you
fantastic.
think so. I'm really proud of it, and I'm glad you like it. And I hope your listeners will take a crack at it and maybe even come down to the Pitmaster Club.
Absolutely, absolutely. With everybody. Oh, one more thing. A few weeks ago, you were on with some friends of mine from the Grab 'em and the Brisket podcast.
Yep.
And I don't know if this might be a personal thing. I don't know if you want to elaborate it on, but I have to ask, why do you
I think that was a trick question, and I was lucky it was garbled. I couldn't hear it. All I heard was "Wong,
oh,
wong, wong." Try again.
oh, try again. While you were on with the Grab 'em and the Brisket guys, it might be a personal question, but why do you eat hot dogs naked?
So I heard something about hot dogs.
Oh, trying to
Go ahead.
kick the internet. On the show with the Grab 'em and the Brisket, you had mentioned you like to eat hot dogs naked.
Not me. No, that's dangerous.
Oh,
No, I love hot dogs. I've written extensively about it. It's really interesting. There's this whole hierarchy of regional hot dogs. There's the New York Coney dog, there's the Cincinnati
mhm.
dog, there's the LA Dodger dog, and of course the Chicago dog. And you don't see that with hamburgers, for example. There's not a New York hamburger and a
Yeah.
Chicago hamburger. But there around the country, there's maybe a dozen distinctive, and then other countries have the distinctive hot dog flavors and styles. And I enjoy them, but I can eat a hot dog naked. Not me, but the hot dog. I eat them in the airports. Often when I'm traveling, I'll just grab a hot dog and there's no mustard, no ketchup, no onions, no nothing. I just love those tube steaks all by themselves on a bun. And yeah,
Yeah.
I eat naked hot dogs. I don't eat hot
But
dogs naked.
when I was watching the show when you were on the other week and that came up,
That's a
oh,
picture you don't want to
I
see.
when you said it, I literally started barrel rolling laughing because the
No.
timing and the phrasing on both your ends was the perfect storm.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, oh, I like eating hot dogs naked while I'm at the airport. What? And then they turned it into a clip for social media, so I see it all the time.
I'm
But
rehearsing my stand-up career.
oh, that's wonderful. But yeah, I would have been remiss if I didn't bring that one up for a good laugh. But like I said, Meathead, thank you so much for the
Hey,
new
fun to
book,
talk to you again.
all this new information to digest. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for the time tonight to talk about the new book. Comes out May 13th.
It'll be in bookstores. You can pre-order it now on Amazon and elsewhere. If you go to our website, we have links to all the places you can order it. And on my website, there's a link to a local bookstore where you can order a signed copy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. But Meathead, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your time that you're giving me to rejoin me, and it's always a pleasure.
Let's not wait so long to do it again.
Absolutely, sir. Meathead, thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, sir. Oh, folks, incredible, true gentleman of barbecue and grilling. a wealth of knowledge. I can literally geek out just and listen to him all day long. I love the aspect of it, but yeah, the book is phenomenal. Um, like I said, you can still pre-order it, or it's available on the 13th of May at bookstores. Highly suggest grabbing it. Lot of new information, a lot of more in depth on some old information. Just an all around great work. Um, Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you all. Catch the video on Facebook and YouTube. Audio on all audio platforms. Questions and comments, please send them to pitlifebbqpodcast@gmail.com. Like always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. Hit that share button. Next week, speaking with Jeremy Garrett of the Campground Barbecue Series and his new contest he has coming in, I believe, June, the Grand Am Barbecue World Championship in New York. We're gonna be talking. I believe we're gonna be talking on Monday, and he's gonna we're gonna work it out. We might have a little bit of a scheduling issue, so I'll keep everybody informed. So yeah, next week, Jeremy Garrett, Campground Barbecue Series, to talk about the World Championship in New York, and much more. He incredible contest, incredible series, does a really good job. But thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. And until, keep the smoke rolling.